Hey guys, what's up? You are watching Fox 5 Live here in the DC newsroom, and thanks for bearing with us on some of our audio issues on YouTube earlier. We're back now. This should be good. You guys should be able to hear me. I'm Molly Nevola here. Mike Thomas, we just did an awesome update on Hurricane Maria. If you didn't catch that, you can follow that stream right under this one. It's linked here on our Fox 5 DC YouTube page. But you're looking right now at a live shot of the State Fair of Texas, guys, in Dallas. This is Big Tex. They are filming these aerials of this statue going up, and it's a big annual thing. It's the biggest state fair in the country, and they're proud of it. So that's a live look at what they've just put up there with the crane. Pretty cool statue there, but anyway, that's a live stream coming in. But we have, again, weather coverage. If you missed that Hurricane Maria stuff, we have a stream on our Facebook page and then also on YouTube below this one. So you can stop watching this one and go see that if you want all that coverage from Mike Thomas. But I want to go over to a really special video, guys, from just moments ago earlier today. We had a camera guy out at Engine 15 in DC, the fire station. A 5-year-old boy was saved by his father and some EMS workers from cardiac arrest. Really interesting story. And he visited Engine 15. His name is Wisdom, by the way, like our very own Wisdom Martin. And a super cute kid, was saved by these guys, and he was not breathing. He didn't have a pulse. And his father and some of these EMS people helped revive him, and he visited the engine today to say thank you, and they had a little ceremony for him. Again, they performed CPR on him, and after 9 minutes, his pulse came back. So it's a miraculous story. Just happened a few minutes ago, so we didn't catch it live, but we're going to play that out for you here so you can check in a little bit of a local feel-good story here in DC.
Chief, this is live on Fox 5's website. No pressure.
Hey.
Just 10 years are really going to be
good enough for me. Those are the heroes. Those are the heroes. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Good morning. We're gathered here at Engine 15 for what we consider a joyous occasion. Members of Engine 15, along with our EMS supervisors, were able to save a life, and it's truly worth recognizing. I'll give you an overview of what these members encountered and let you decide who the real heroes are. The call to 911 was made by Wisdom's mom just before 11 a.m. on the morning of July 8th. Wisdom was unconscious. His father was already performing CPR on his 5-year-old son, doing all he could to keep the blood flowing to his son's brain. Anyone, any bystander that begins the process of performing CPR prior to our arrival gives us and the patient a better chance of surviving. This case really drives home that point today. Minutes later, after CPR was initiated by his dad, EMS 3 and the members attached to Engine Company 15 arrived and Medic 8. They were inside and they found young Wisdom on the floor, lifeless. The crew from Engine 15 quickly placed their AED to Wisdom and began CPR. And with the addition of EMS Captain Mike Baker and firefighter paramedic Jason Stadler, now part of the life-saving mission, all ALS measures that were called for were done. The crew from Engine 15 continued CPR for 5 minutes, although it probably felt like forever. And with this cohesive, life-saving team effort, Wisdom was back among the living again. At the hospital, doctors downloaded the information collected from Wisdom on the AED that was placed on him and were able to narrow it on to what happened to Wisdom and, more importantly, how to treat him. The next day, he was awake and talking, totally oblivious to the drama of the 24 hours later. And at this point, I'd like to bring his dad up, along with Wisdom. And if you'd like to speak for a few minutes on what you encountered.
Well, I encountered him in the shower, unconscious. He was hanging out of the shower, so of course I immediately grabbed him out the shower. I brought him out to the living room to get him on a flat surface. I elevated his feet, and I propped his head up and began chest compressions in the middle of his chest, 2 inches in like they teach you. And I was just trying to do as much as I could to wait till the ambulance people get there, because I heard whoever starts first, they are part of the team, help saving the life. So if you're around and you know something, then you have to do something. And in this case, of course I was going to do something. This one's mine. And they really came and did the hard work, relieved my stress.
Okay, and what we'd like to do is present the members of Engine 15, EMS supervisors, all of those life-saving members that were on this call. We have our challenge pin that we customarily give to our members for saving lives. And in this case, it's more gratifying because this is a young 5-year-old child that now has another chance at life, thanks to the members of Engine 15, EMS 3, and Medic 8, and of course his dad, who began CPR. As we stated, that's a vital part to making sure the survival chain stays intact. Starts with dad, so you're a hero too. We have to give you a coin for all your work. And now I'd like to present the coins to the members of Engine 15, EMS 3, and Medic 8. First and foremost, Lieutenant Matthew Mbach. Well done. Okay, next we have firefighter Brandon Warren. Thank you. Firefighter Aaron Windsor. Thank you. EMS Captain Mike Baker. Wagon extraordinaire, James Bogo. And did I leave anyone? Oh, I'm sorry. Wow. Not to get thrown off, but Monique was also on the call, and we didn't anticipate her being here, but by all means, congratulations. Thank you. Good job, well done. And EMS Captain G. Michael Carter.
Congratulations.
So again, we can't stress it too much. Survival of a young 5-year-old, another chance at life and wisdom. I want to congratulate you too. All right. Thank you.
May I ask questions, Chief?
Sure.
What this event, what does it do for your message in letting people know that learning CPR is a very important part of?
It's something that Fire Chief is big on, and it's paying dividends. The challenge coins that we offer when members make a save, we've given out, I know I have over 100 of them. So the efforts are paying dividends for the citizens and the visitors of the District of Columbia. We're able to save their lives. And in this case, a 5-year-old, again, his whole life ahead of him, and he still has that to look forward to. Is that it?
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, guys. You want to talk to me? What? It's done. We got your card? Oh, you did. There you go. That's it. Because he started seeking out. Okay, what you all right? You go to catch it. And we'll definitely we'll keep in touch.
Isn't that amazing? A really uplifting, heartwarming story right out of DC here, guys. This was just really just an hour ago or so. This is at Engine 15 in DC, and the little boy does seem a little bit shy to be there, but of course, it's one of those things that makes you think how important CPR really is, and if you out there are certified or not. I know I was recently in the past year or so, but you wonder if you'll ever have to use it, especially in a time like this where his father found him in a shower, unconscious, no pulse, and then was able to revive him. It's really an incredible story right here in our district. Little 5-year-old boy. So I wanted to bring that to you guys. Little thank you at the Engine 15. So just wanted to say hey to some of our viewers. Hey Tora, hey Kathy, thanks for watching our live news program here. We're gonna go over, kind of switch it up now. First of all, you might be wondering what this is on the chair. It is a pumpkin pizza, pumpkin spice pizza, guys. It's the first day of fall. It begins today, and we got this on our morning show this morning, so I stole a piece. But check it out. It drops at 4:02 today. That's when the autumnal equinox actually arrives. So there's a little graphic for you. So even though it doesn't really feel like fall here in the district, it is. And if you want more details on the weather, I was mentioning, and some of you are asking, the stream right below this one, Mike Thomas breaks it down, how Maria has been tracking up the East Coast and what to expect there. But we're going to change it up and go over to the Rose Garden at the White House, a live event there. Melania Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, is with the National Park Service. They're hosting a plant and harvest event with children from a local community group, and we get some inside look at some of the stuff they're planting in the Rose Garden at the White House. So this is sort of the first event for the First Lady that is of this nature, because the last one had to be postponed. So we're going to take a little inside look at what that's like, and I'm sure we'll hear some remarks from the First Lady as well.
Alright, so she's going to come out here and speak with you guys, and then we're going to divide up into groups. So if you want to just do groups of 2 or 3, and we're going to have 4 of us, one in each kind of corner of the garden, and we're going to go ahead and show you how to harvest these. You know, we have tomatoes, we have eggplants, we have peppers right there behind you. We have all sorts of plants that you're going to harvest in baskets. That's what we're going to put all the plants in. We'll have some knives and printers in there to help cut some of these, because some of these can be rather tough to cut. And after that, we're going to go ahead and start planting some fall crops. We have some cabbage and lettuce and kale. So, once she's done talking to you, we'll go ahead and show you how to do that. So if y'all want to see, there's carrots here, you too. and maybe, let's see, 3 here, 2 and 2. We'll do 5 groups because we have another guy that's going to help too. And yeah, just maybe you two will come over in this area. All right, you two on the end of the table right here. You know, maybe start right here. We're going to harvest some eggplant. You don't have to get up right now. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah.
All right, so as this gets underway, guys, we're going to kind of check out the scene here. We'll leave it on this. Kind of a cool inside look at the back of the White House if you haven't seen what the Rose Garden looks like behind there. But it looks like they're harvesting, planting a bunch of different things. Some of you are asking about this pizza. Okay, here's a close-up while we watch this. Check it out. It really is just a white pizza with chunks of pumpkin on it. So I'm not going to say I hate it, but I do agree, Trina, it's taking it a little too far. Pumpkin spice to me is very extraneous. It's sort of something that it doesn't have to be as sweet as it is with all the things that are coming out. I think you can just go natural and just do the natural fruit on top. I mean, it's kind of an interesting take on it, right? So they delivered a bunch of pizzas. This was one of them. It's all right. I don't know. Would you guys eat it? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, I think taking it a little bit too far. But it is the first day of fall, so we have to remember that. Even though it doesn't feel like it, September 22nd, it's really the science behind it is essentially equal parts daylight and darkness today. It's when the sun shines directly on the equator that makes it the autumnal equinox. So that starts at 4:02 p.m. today. Yeah, it's not too bad, Kathy, commenting on this. So yeah, here we see like some tomatoes and peppers and different things in the back of the garden. And I think Melania Trump will kind of host and have a few details on this, possibly speak a little bit to the children from this local community group who are attending this event. Meanwhile, if I take 2 shots of this, not to totally switch gears, but we still have a live look at bottom left of your screen. This is the search and rescue in Mexico that's still ongoing as a result of the earthquake that left more than 240 or so dead. And we're still sort of following that and getting that live stream in. Yesterday, we were talking to you guys about it and bringing it live. The Israeli search and rescue efforts came over to help out. So they kind of just dropped everything and helped these guys. And they're still going on. You can see so many people there with hard hats, so many people in the construction group and rescue group really efforting this rescue after the natural disaster. So 2 different things here to take a look at that are going on live. And Trina, love pizza, but yeah, you'll pass. I know, I totally agree. It is probably my favorite food. It encapsulates all the food groups, which is something I like to note. But I'm the same. I kind of like certain styles, and like I know exactly what I like. The more plain ones, veggie, cheese, all of it. But yeah, that's in my seat next to me because that's what we're celebrating today. So I'll see if I can get anybody to come join me and take another bite. But anyway, enjoy the stream, guys. A couple different shots for you. And we'll take that full screen when she comes on.
I mean, the camera's up, but
They could burn them a little bit if you're not used to it. That's why you have your gloves on. And yeah, definitely don't touch your face or your skin. Yeah, keep picking it up. Oh yeah, definitely right. Yeah, if you just touch, it's fine. But if you get a lot of the juices on your finger, it's actually the seeds that are really hot. So if you accidentally break one out and you get seeds on, just be careful. It's not going to burn you literally, but you might feel tingly.
you saw St. John, didn't you?
John Parkinson.
Yeah.
She works.
I am not the first lady, that's for sure. But my name is Stephanie. Very nice to meet you. Thank you guys for coming. Are you excited? Okay. Thank you guys.
I'm Jonathan Hunt in Mexico City. I'll have the details coming up. And that's the tease.
So right below my screen here, guys, I'm in the Washington, D.C., Fox 5 D.C. local newsroom. Right below here is a reporter from Fox News National. He's down in Mexico City. You can see he's doing a tease and getting ready back to the station. So if we can kind of jump into one of his live shots, we'll get more information from him down there. But obviously he knows the scoop better than we do up here, so we'll sort of see what report he has to say. So I'm going to keep an eye on this stream as we have a bunch of different sources coming in. And hopefully we'll see the First Lady soon at this event at the White House. Thanks, guys, for commenting. I see you're still talking about the pizza. Love it. I still got it right here, so it's hanging out. My other senior web producer said he tried a piece and wasn't super into it, although I will say it was better than I expected, so that's sort of my take on it. All right, we'll jump into this stream and see what we can get.
Rescue workers here in Mexico City.
How many of y'all need bigger gloves? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All set, Chris? No.
I didn't say that.
Fox 2 News. So far, some 60 people have been rescued from the rubble, but in some areas, bulldozers are now moving in to clear the wreckage where no signs of life have been detected. In Mexico City, Jonathan Hunt, Fox 2 News.
I'm going to walk back over here. I did it. Where's your people? Oh, my machine for you. Did anybody have any birds?
You don't have like 2 weeks?
Oh, wow.
And after like 2 weeks.
How dare you say? How very dare.
So, you know, I was in Russell yesterday.
It's not a bug. Where do you fall? In like Rayburn or Billy Yates?
He fell down here on the ellipse at the Christmas tree lighting. Right over here, yeah. The Hanukkah lighting, yeah.
Well, yesterday one of the CBS Saints, Russell Closet.
All right, guys, checking back in with you inside the newsroom. We're going to go right back to that feed in just a second in the Rose Garden so we can catch Melania Trump and her event. But it looks like we have some interviews that are being either playing back or caught on tape from Mexico City. Some of the people that are involved in the search and rescue for people in the rubble in Mexico City after the earthquake that left more than 230 people dead or so. So we're going to go over there to check in.
From Miami, because we were working, supporting the people, victims of the hurricanes in Texas and in Florida. So now,
So you come home then here, and this is what you have to do after the hurricanes.
Yes, I arrived from Miami September 19, about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I found my friends in our own commanders.
All right, guys, looks like we're just losing that source, unfortunately, but I do see the First Lady coming out in the Rose Garden for this harvest and planting event. So we're going to go over to the White House one more time. Sorry for all the switch around, but we're so in and out of sources today. This is a cool shot, so take a look.
Hello, everyone. Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Hi. You have a question for me? Yes? Yes. I'm a First Lady for you who doesn't know me. So I just want to welcome you to the White House and thank you for coming and helping me to harvest and plant the vegetables in that beautiful garden. So I think we will have a lot of fun. So who has a garden at home? You do? What do you grow?
Apples, and I grow tulips and roses.
Oh, fantastic, beautiful. Somebody else? No? What is your favorite vegetables? Do you like them?
I like carrots.
Carrots?
Amy.
Nice. You're very good at vegetables. You like vegetables. Broccoli, delicious.
Collard.
Nice.
Collard.
Nice.
Carrots.
Carrots, yes. Corn. Beautiful.
String beans.
String beans. Nice.
Tomato.
Tomato.
Garlic.
Garlic. Nice. Delicious. I like tomatoes too. I'm a big believer in a healthy eating because it reflects on your mind and your body, and I encourage you to continue and eat a lot of vegetables and fruits, and so you grow up healthy and take care of yourself. Have a healthy living, but it's very important. Yes? Do you want to go and have some fun?
Yes.
So when you leave today, I want to send you home with garden kits so you could continue gardening at home, and as well as honey from the White House, so from beehive, so you could enjoy with your family, and I hope you like it. Yes? You want to come with me and have some fun? Yeah. Let's put the gloves on. I brought mine too.
And we're gonna do a photograph really quick.
Oh yeah, let's have a photo. All of us. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, come on in. Let's all squeeze together.
Okay, everybody looking right here.
Great. Very nice. Come on, let's go.
Make sure you get your gloves on. Oh, look at that. Those are nice.
Yes, everyone wants to divide up into groups that we decided on earlier.
You ready?
I didn't know. I get nervous when I figured she might want to take
Don't say no to that.
Alright, what about you guys?
These are the chefs, and the national park helping us, and the chefs here from the White House, that they're cooking delicious food and they're using those vegetables as well. So they will help us today.
Yeah, if you want, yeah, go with that. I don't know.
Oh yeah. No one pick tomatoes? No one pick tomatoes here with Jessica?
Oh, a couple of people are going to go with Rick and help him with the artichokes inside.
Alright, Miguel, you want to go help and then we'll go pick some tomatoes?
I like her accent.
Okay.
All right, here's a basket right here.
So yeah, guys, checking in with you from the newsroom here. This is FLOTUS. Melania Trump is hosting this really cool plant and harvest event along with the National Park Service. And you can see the kids are all getting to be involved, and they're going home with some vegetables and some honey, she said. So let us know what you think in the comments. And if you have ever been to the Rose Garden, I was able to tour the White House years ago, and I'm hopefully going to do it again this year. But they take you back there and you get to see that area that you really never get to see except for in media events like this. So this is kind of a cool thing. Of course, Melania Trump espousing her healthy eating values and whatnot to these kids. And I could see some of them were kind of in disbelief that she was actually the first lady. They were like, oh, are you really the first lady? It was cute. So anyway, let us know what you think. Speaking of, I'm still here with my pumpkin spice pizza, to which my senior web producer just said, oh, problem solved. I scraped off the pumpkin. I'm good. You got the cheese pizza over there, so he's behind me. Anyway, that's an inside look at our newsroom right now during the middle of the day on this Friday. So happy Friday, guys. It's the first day of fall. It begins at 4:02. Who's ready for fall and ready for summer to end? Let me know. We're going to keep checking in on this event as long as we have it to stream it for you. We're going to bring you a mix of live news, anything that's breaking will come right at you from our stream here. So thanks for joining us on YouTube.
They're hiding all in there. Oh, there's a big one here.
I got a big one. They're ready.
Big ones down there. Ready.
Even the little ones are good. Little guys like that, they're good.
Plant some things. Yeah. Yeah. Jessica.
Hey.
Am I pulled in?
So I'm going to be with one more of your friends, okay? Just take a row and I'll be back. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm. And then we can just pull these right up. These are least. And you just grab a hold.
Yours coming up.
Yeah, mine are hard.
Let's see.
No, I'll take them least. You put them in your basket and then we can take them over to the shop and wash them.
pull it out?
Yeah, just pull it. Yeah, they're nice. These are great for salad.
Sir.
You did. You got a basket full. Y'all want to go? You want to try the carrots next? Okay.
Let's see what boys are doing.
Yeah.
Those were the, yes. Let me know.
The drink or no? Yep, definitely. Y'all seen the artichoke before? A little bigger. Yeah, that was a good try. over to the board?
We're wrapping up. Should we go to wash some vegetables now?
All right, guys, hope you're enjoying our stream here of this event with the First Lady in the Rose Garden at the White House. I want to alert you to this morning, James Comey, actually the ex-FBI director, spoke at the convocation, the opening convocation for Howard University, right here in D.C., right in the center of the city, sort of in the Shaw area. And we weren't able to stream that for you guys live, but it is really interesting, and it is up on their website. It was up as a live stream. So if you're interested in that, do check that out. I was really hoping to bring that to you guys, but we also had Mike Thomas do a big weather hit for you at the top of the show. So if you're interested in that, of course, tracking Maria and stuff, I know some of you came on for that. Do check that out. But interestingly, like I said, the same man, ex-FBI director that we held his live hearing and testimony here on Fox 5 Live for many months ago, he spoke at the convocation for Howard. So it should be a pretty interesting one. It was this morning. If you have a chance, go ahead and check that out. I'm going to try to rewatch it later. But right now you're looking at a live feed of cameras right there, the ground level in the Rose Garden at the White House for this planting and harvesting event with Melania Trump. So let us know what you think about it. Keep the chat going. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll come back to you. I'm not sure if this is going to be kind of winding down, but we'll see what's going on next and bring that to you live as well. We have a couple other cool things coming up that are live from our photojournalists who are out in the field getting their stories in and getting all sorts of video from stuff. So we'll see if she makes a few words here or if this feed drops for us, but we'll check in with you in a second. Thanks for watching, guys.
Dozens of events with his veggie garden, but First Lady Melania Trump for the first time today, great space. You go get my tripod?
Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir. Sure.
Comedy guy, man. You were distracting running around because of your shoes. First lady was laughing at you. What that guy doing? Especially when you have green shoes. To be able to laugh at yourself.
Well, that was a court order. He had to wear shoes like that. It's easy to find him when he's running.
There he is.
Yeah.
So you've been here for a whole week, and this is the first time you looked at that mixer?
Right.
Live shots.
Should go ask her, or? Yeah, right. No? Okay. She's bringing up the rear. Yeah. Oh, not Stephanie. Catherine. Does she know?
You want to ask
Stephanie's the one to know that? Okay. Never mind that.
Got this ladybug. You got a ladybug? Oh, check it out. It's green. Well, it's not a ladybug. I think it's some sort of beetle. Beetlejuice. Might be a poison bug. Yeah. That's probably an invasive species. Yeah, good. Bring it out of the White House. Thanks. It'll multiply.
So they used to give out. So you can get those from your congressional office. Like it's massive. Yeah, the plaid. And the back. That's it.
What?
All right, guys, so a little tour of the back of the White House there, the Rose Garden. Some of you are commenting on how pretty it is, and it is kind of cool because we forget that we don't really ever get to see that side of it. I will say our reporter, Ronica Cleary, she's often there for a lot of White House coverage, White House press briefings and whatnot. We're going to have her Skype in more often to give us sort of an inside look at the White House when she's there. Looks like this camera's still going, though. We got this rolling on for quite a while, so kind of seeing like we're getting nothing now, so we're going to bring it back into the newsroom. But I want to go over quickly to the Houston area. So in the wake of all this stuff, all the hurricanes, Irma and Maria, sometimes we forget still that Houston is undergoing a big rebuilding, and they're going through all sort of the trauma from the back end of Hurricane Harvey, which affected them. And this morning there was a brief press conference in Port Arthur, an area that was very heavily affected, with the governor, Greg Abbott, who we saw throughout all of that. And he spoke briefly with Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Ben Carson. And so we're going to bring you that video now. Check this out.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
All right, how you doing?
All right.
Good.
Secretary, your thoughts on what you've seen today here in Port Arthur?
Well, first of all, I'm very gratified by the rapidity of the response and the coordination of the response and the involvement at the state and local level with the federal authorities. It's working. Are there things to be improved? Are there things to be learned? Of course there are, and we're constantly in that mode, but this is working very well. One of the things that's very impressive, this neighborhood that we're in right now, was largely built on the basis of CDBG DR funding after Ike, and the development before that. And what it really shows is the ability to take public funding and combine that with private interest and really create very viable dwellings in neighborhoods that are nourishing. And this is what we need to be doing all across the country. The other thing we're doing is learning from the things that have happened in the past, so that as new things are built and as remediation is done, we build in the knowledge that we have to give us more protection next time.
And I heard the governor talk to you about the need for speed, the cutting the red tape. Hey, bring it to Texas. We can get it done. Your thoughts on the governor's message?
That works very well if you have a good governor, which you happen to have. So, I'm all for cutting tape. Recognizing that the reason that there's so much red tape is because you don't always have good people that you can count on. And, things that happened after certain disasters in other places, have resulted in a proliferation of safeguards. We have to have the ability to waive things in appropriate ways, because what we have to remember is that if we can get people back to work again, they become part of the economy. They become part of the contributors rather than part of what has to be supported. And that's going to get us all moving in the right direction much faster.
And Governor, I know that's a concern of you, getting people back to work and getting people back home. Are you frustrated with the pace, or what are your concerns with the pace?
I'm inspired by the way that Texans are responding, by the way these local officials are responding. I mean, when you think of the catastrophe and the devastation these folks have suffered here in Port Arthur and Beaumont and the entire region, and then when you see how quickly their homes are being restored, it's impressive. But also it's impressive to see how inspired people here are. But also in talking to the local officials and others, I've learned that they have certain needs that need to be addressed. You see up and down this street a lot of debris. And one thing I promised them, and that is a quick, rapid response and resources to make sure those issues will be covered. So I have a check presentation. The county judge for Jefferson County has been doing a good job of removing debris. And I have a check for him to help pay for that debris, $2.6 million to help pay for that removal. And we got more coming to Port Arthur as well as other places to help them clear this debris.
Governor, I'm actually from Houston, and yesterday our mayor was saying that he would not impose a 9% tax hike if we could get money from the rainy day fund. So now that falls on your shoulders. How much money is Houston going to get?
Well, actually, also he said that because of the rapid way that we are reimbursing things like debris removal, that takes care of it. And so we've been working with him. I was just with him 2 nights ago to make sure all of his issues were taken care of, and he was very pleased.
So you are confident that the residents of Houston will not have a 9% tax hike because of that?
I'm not in charge of the taxation in the city of Houston. The mayor is.
But if he said that, then you think that money is going to cover it?
I don't know what he said or what his plans are for the city taxes. Of course, it's up to city officials to make those decisions, and it's not up to the state to tell them what to do or not to do. As the mayor knows, we are there with him, working with him. I gave the mayor a check for almost $100 million to help pay for it, and there's more where that came from.
I know, Governor, one of the concerns of the Port Arthur mayor, and he expressed it, he still has folks in Dallas and other places, folks who want to come home, might not have the resources. He says he's going to do what he can to bring them, but then there's concern of housing for those folks. So that combination of getting people back to the city and then into homes, what can you tell the mayor and the people of Port Arthur?
Well, we want those folks back to their home or their neighborhood as quickly as possible, and to make sure that we accomplish that, we have made an agreement between the state of Texas and with HUD as well as other federal officials, and the person and entity in the state of Texas that's going to lead that effort is George P. Bush right here, the Commissioner of the General Land Office, who will be working on both the short-term and long-term housing issues and working to expedite it.
Last question.
I guess, Commissioner, your thoughts on having, this is the first time the states have had the burden of housing. What can you tell the folks that don't have a housing option today?
Well, we just stood up a website at texasrebuilds.com where all Texans up and down the coast can learn more about the 5 options available. We're partnered with FEMA in an innovative fashion to triage the need as soon as possible. It will be a combination of direct repair, something similar to what we've witnessed today, to mobile housing units, and also multifamily complex rehab and repair. So it'll be a multifaceted approach to deliver the full, swift, and available resources of the federal government in partnership with the state of Texas to get people back in their homes.
Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you for coming.
Sure. Thank you. Good to have you here.
All right, guys, speaking of hurricane recovery and whatnot, right now we have an event going on, just started, so it's already in progress, but we're going to jump in over there at the Department of Defense over at the Pentagon. This is regarding all of the hurricanes in one and the recovery efforts surrounding them. So let's jump in.
And any of the other kind of natural disasters we've had. And I'm standing in on behalf of my boss, Lieutenant General Marion Miller, that couldn't make it here today, but we're here to represent the more than 69,000 reserve citizen airmen that are currently serving in the United States Air Force Reserve. Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen numerous natural disasters, and I would tell you that I have firsthand knowledge in that. I have a house in Key Largo, Florida, and for Hurricane Irma, I was actually in Miami when it struck. I evacuated out of the Keys, but it's humbling to see the amount of luck that I had and the minimal damage that I had. But our hearts go out to everybody that's been impacted by the multitude of different events that we've had, and large swaths in the states, partners in Mexico, the Caribbean, the islands. Just a lot of stuff, and additionally, even reaching out to the West Coast, to the California wildfires and other things. We have 3 special units in the Reserve Command that do the hurricane hunting mission, the aerial spray mission, which has been active during these events, and the wildfire missions as well. So we're quite proud of what they've done in support of the efforts. And we anticipate here, with all the 4 Atlantic hurricanes we've seen, and just the instability that we've seen lately, that we're here prepared to do as much as we can and continue to work that and to support everyone that's been affected by this. So well before Harvey made landfall, until the season is over and the wildfire season is over, we'll be there, and we'll be through volunteerism and other forces here to support as a supporting agency in the Department of Defense to all the rest of our partner agencies in this time of difficult time. So over to General Holland.
Thank you, sir. Well, good afternoon, and I too thank you for being here today. As is already mentioned, I'm Diana Holland, and I represent the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Over the past few weeks, the Corps of Engineers has been heavily engaged in supporting our states and territories following 3 hurricanes, Harvey, Irma, and Maria. And so, like the General here, I'd like to express our thoughts and prayers for those affected by these storms. We recognize that there are people who have lost a home, their belongings, potentially their livelihood, and it's for that reason the people of our organization, the organization I represent, feel so passionate about doing everything possible to help. So just a little bit about who we are. I command one of 9 divisions of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the South Atlantic Division. The area of responsibility of our division includes the southeastern United States as well as the Caribbean islands. So, as you can imagine, the entire impact of Irma and Maria was felt in our region. And so our division is the lead for the Corps of Engineers in the hurricane response following Irma and Maria. The areas in our region affected include Georgia, Florida, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. And just to briefly describe the complexity of this, 2 storms, which each brought unique impacts requiring specific resources and expertise, 2 states, 2 territories, 4 governors, 2 FEMA regions, and so on. It has been truly remarkable to watch the broad U.S. government response, and I'm happy to report that we're working very closely together in support of those governors' priorities. So as I mentioned, each state and territory has its own requirements, but there are some things that remain consistent. We share the desire to reunite families, get survivors out of shelters and hotels, and get back to their homes and restore some normalcy. So our role in this is, as we like to say, FEMA's engineers. They give us our missions, and our missions are what you might expect engineers to do. Debris removal, and when I talk about debris removal, I mean high volume, in the hundreds of thousands of cubic yards. Infrastructure assessments, temporary emergency power restoration, temporary roofing. Some of you may be familiar with Blue Roof, and I can talk more about that later, but that's one of the primary things we do when residences are damaged, and temporary housing. And then in collaboration with the United States Coast Guard and NOAA, we work really hard with the ports authorities to help them open the ports. So our approach to this support to FEMA is right people, right place, early. And here's what I mean by that. Early on, before Irma, we pre-positioned our soldiers and civilians, selected because they have certain specific skill sets, on the island so that as soon as Hurricane Irma passed, they could quickly assess the damage and begin to plan for the required support. We anticipated that ports of entry would be closed, and they were. Had we not been on those islands in advance, along with the other agencies, we would not have been timely. We would have been subject to the same delays that others faced because the airports and the ports were closed. Same approach for Florida. Although in the case of Florida, we don't face the same logistics challenges as we do on the islands, because the ability to transport people and supplies by ground is a key advantage. Then similarly, as Maria approached, we had the right people in place so that after the storm, they could quickly restart our efforts. Right people, right place, early. Last week, I had the privilege to visit Florida, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, and unfortunately, as you've seen in all of the images, a lot of damage across the board, and that was before Maria struck the territories. Our teams, which sheltered there during the hurricanes, were able to begin their assessments of the damage yesterday morning following the storm. And the assessments continue. The airports are damaged and closed, although I've just learned that the airport in Puerto Rico has opened to military traffic. The ports are closed. Of course, a lot of power outages, roads blocked by debris, water damage, the things you would expect following a major hurricane. These assessments will continue over the next several days, but all of us that support FEMA's response are acting. And so
All right, guys, so this press conference or update is going to continue from the Pentagon. That's the Department of Defense bringing updates about this natural disaster recovery. But I want to bring you over to a sort of a more of a localized thing that's going on right now. Our photojournalist Joe Spivak is outside the Capital One Arena. Check it out. Here's a live look at it. And I'm not going to give anything away right now, but we're just going to watch and wait. These are some kids from the special American Special Hockey Association just playing some street hockey outside the arena. And we're going to watch and wait because there might be a very special guest coming up to join them. They're just playing some hockey outside of the arena, which we all like to do back in the 90s. And I enjoyed it too. So check here. We're going to watch and wait because something is going to happen.
I know.
That was too easy.
Hey, General Hall, if you're watching, you're next.
Obviously lots of DC sports sentiment here with some of these kids. So just so you know what you're watching, guys, this is all part of the NHL Centennial Fan Arena. Sort of they're participating, these kids that are part of the American Special Hockey Association. It's a league, sort of an association that was created in the year 2000, giving a chance for kids who have special disabilities, developmental disabilities, and kids of all ages really and all abilities to be able to play hockey and street hockey. So you can see there are a lot of Caps fans there, and one of the kids who just came up to the camera, obviously a Nats fan. And so we have our photog out there filming this because they're going to be joined by very special guests shortly. And it's going to be a nice little surprise for these kids. So again, this is an association giving the chance for children with all sorts of abilities and disabilities the chance to play hockey, and that's what you're watching right now. This is right outside the Capital One Arena, so right on 6th and F Street in Chinatown, if you're familiar with that area.
Thank you. There we are. We all right. Ready? Almost. Yeah, that was looking good. That was funny. That is funny. All right. So, you guys. All right. Sound good? We have goalie. We have someone who wants to be goalie. I'll go. Goalie? All right. Perfect. All right. Let's go. We're all going to go this way, all right? Hey, no selfie.
All right, guys, so that surprise is going to come up, and I'm just keeping an eye on the feed so that I can catch it when it does so that we don't linger on that too long. But while we still have this update from the Pentagon, I want to go back over to the Department of Defense as they update on natural disaster recovery. So we're going to keep an eye on this feed outside of the Capital One Arena for you. I promise you it's a very special surprise coming up for some of these kids with disabilities who play for this hockey association, and it's going to be really, really cute, really meaningful. So let's go over the Pentagon while we still have this.
That's the types of efforts that we have. I can't talk to you about scope and how soon, but I can tell you that we're doing that.
Is that mobile comm support for the military, or is it for citizens as well?
No, I think it's more for the citizens, but realize that we also, along with that, are able to bring other first responders, if you will. So we're able to fly on our mobility aircraft, firefighters, search and rescue, and other civil support as well.
But can you give me a sense? Is it days? Is it weeks before?
I
just kind of help the public get a sense of when they might be able to reach their loved one.
I wish that I could, but as General Holland said, until, think about it, until probably today, there was no real understanding at all of the level, the gravity of the situation. So until someone can take a look at that, I mean, just having done Irma in Miami and looking at the volume of power that was out in the state of Florida for a relatively light event, at least in the Miami area, I think it's going to take a while. But until they have a chance to take a look at that, I wouldn't want to speculate with a time frame.
Yes, sir. I'd like to go back to the question about being stretched too thin. You said you were doing fine, but as you assess the devastation, which is likely to be widespread devastation, do you anticipate that there's going to be a need for additional military resources, or are you expecting to make, requests for more? Can you talk at all about what that?
Well,
might be?
I don't know that I can answer that purely, but as the military through U.S. Northcom and others, as the Department of Defense is in support of other agencies like USAID and others, until we get that request for support, it's difficult for us to say what assets we have available. Do I personally believe that this is going to be a long road to recovery in many cases? I absolutely do, because I've watched this over the years for various other events. But I would tell you very, very firmly that the entirety of the Department of Defense takes this very seriously, and these are our homes and our neighbors and our friends as well. And we have evacuated some of our own personnel in preparation for these storms, and now have gone.
Get in there, Colin! Get it, Colin!
Nice shot, Obi.
So here you go, guys. This is the special surprise. Pro hockey Alex Ovechkin surprising these kids in a street hockey game outside of the Capital One Arena. Super cool. He just kind of rolls in there and joins in with them. Now, he's had a long-standing relationship with this association to help out some of these players. Again, these are kids with varying abilities, varying disabilities, part of this special hockey association, and they were just playing, a little game of street hockey outside the arena, and he jumps right in. So Ovi's there. There's lots of press, lots of family and friends there to catch the action, and we sent our guy down to bring some of this back. So just kind of a cool event for these kids, again, from the American Special Hockey Association, an association that's been around since the year 2000. And there he is, participating as part of the NHL Centennial Fan Arena. And I know our Brody Logan is going to be covering this event and reporting on this later tonight. So more on our air and on our digital platforms on this story. So we'll let you watch this for just a second, then we'll jump back to our coverage of the Department of Defense and their updates on the natural disaster recovery efforts that are ongoing.
Organize the Corps of Engineers response. So that's our next step. We think that's going to happen Sunday or Monday timeframe, and then by then we'll have the missions more assessment, and we'll have additional understanding of what the missions are going to be, and then they'll start implementing the different contracts to start, whether it's blue roof or removing debris. We're a little bit dependent, well, we're very dependent on the governor's priorities. And so as he sees the magnitude of this and he develops his priorities, that's then how that works. He then relays that to FEMA, and then if FEMA decides the Corps is the avenue to go to employ our skills, then we'll receive those orders.
But it won't be until Sunday or Monday for like the comms equipment or...
It's all based on the request. And as a supporting agency, we would see that. My expectation would be, because I think they've already been doing this in the islands, that the Puerto Rico Air National Guard will be heavily engaged in support of any activities required, to include if there were issues with whomever asked the question about looting and other things. They provide security. But I would also expect that based on those requests, we would have mobility aircraft, which is one of the reasons it's good to get the military airfield open first. We'll be bringing in needed supplies and support based on other agency requests to the department.
Today or tomorrow.
I can't tell you, Mike. All I would tell you is through U.S. Northcom that they are likely getting requests right now, and my expectation would be, because we respond very rapidly, that if there has been a request for Department of Defense support there, it is probably already happening, and we just don't realize it.
Okay, guys. If that's it, we're sitting at about the 30-minute. You have one more question? That's fine. Please go ahead.
Sir, you had mentioned that some of your personnel are in these affected areas, and you said that you personally live in the area. I was just wondering if I could ask you a personal question. Sure. How did Key Largo fare, and how did your own?
Key Largo did okay. It was interesting because as a person who has watched this before, I moved to Key Largo because of Hurricane Andrew, so I understood. But the people that live in the Florida Keys have not been struck by a storm of any magnitude for the majority of the last 2 centuries. So Key Largo, from my perspective, did pretty good. But based on the fact of where the eye hit and how quick the winds dissipate, you don't have to start going very far south to where you see major devastation. Now, because I was in Miami and we were unable to get people back into the Florida Keys, at the last moment, we chose to go out of there based on the turn of the eye and where we felt that it was going to impact. So we went actually into Miami, did not go back down to the Keys, but I've been keeping contact through internet, Facebook, online phone videos and pictures. So I have a pretty good idea of my own stuff, and I have seen posted things of friends who have had significantly more damage than I experienced only 5 to 6 miles south of my house. So my concern would be as you start to look at about Isla Mirada, Marathon, south towards Key West, I think we're going to see significant problems, and it's going to be a very long road to recovery in a place that is virtually 100% dependent on tourism.
Yeah, just one quick one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you just put in context how bad the Virgin Islands were hit compared to other surrounding areas, or maybe compare the damage in Puerto Rico to the Virgin Islands?
You know, without having an assessment of Puerto Rico yet, I really couldn't do that.
Just the Virgin Islands, then. Can you just put into context the damage, describe the damage in the Virgin Islands?
90% power outages. You know, one of the challenges we have in the Virgin Islands is that they have a lot of above ground power lines. And so that's going to take a long time to fix. When I was over there driving on the different roads and surveying the damage, a lot of down power lines and poles across the road, a lot of debris, a lot of homes, you know, in different stages of most affected in some way, some very seriously. It's very extensive, but I would also of note, they were really energized to get after this and to start making progress. So just within from the 2 days before I got there, our commander on the ground had driving by gas stations, for example, and there were long lines to get fuel. By the time I was there, just 48 hours later, there weren't fuel lines anymore. We were able to go around the entire island with our vehicle, which was an incredible improvement compared to 48 hours before. Then I made a second visit 2 days later, and it was already better. There was a couple of restaurants open, there were grocery stores open. So they're really, trying to make the improvements while the rest of us are supporting them. So Maria was definitely an unfortunate setback.
In general, did you say that every home in the Virgin Islands to some degree was damaged?
I would not say every home in the Virgin Islands was damaged, but I would say probably most families affected in one way or the other.
Okay. All right, guys. General Ryle, General Holland, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. Hey guys, if anybody wants to do a one-on-one for any reason, get a few more questions, a little more personal view or anything like that, come on up here, talk to me and the general staffs, and they have a little bit of time this afternoon. They can sit down with you if anyone's interested in that, okay?
Get seat over here.
Yeah, guys, so we'll see how long we have this video, this coverage, but again, you're seeing, we kind of just switched back from the Pentagon. This is Ovi, Alex Ovechkin, pro hockey, of course. He's had a long-standing relationship with the American Special Hockey Association, and here it's more than 50 kids, children and adolescents, are playing street hockey, and he was able to come by and play along with them. So it looks like Joe just put the camera down, so this might be the end of our shot, but this will be the 4th consecutive season that Ovechkin has sort of hosted an event for the ASHA.
I got
All right, guys. Well, totally switching gears again. We're going to go back to a little bit of politics. We haven't really talked much of that. And yeah, I still have my pumpkin spice pizza sitting on the chair next to me. So hanging out for this first day of fall, guys. Fall begins today at 4:02 p.m. We have this slate up so you can check it out. Super exciting, even though it doesn't feel like fall here in the district. But again, this morning, Vice President Pence sat down with the governor of Maine, Paul LePage, to discuss health care and tax reform from the White House. He was in the Eisenhower Executive Office building right next to, next to the White House. So we're going to go to that video now so we can check in with the Vice President.
Public Law 90 or something similar to it. The high-risk pool was really helping lower the premiums, lower the deductibles on people in Maine. And unfortunately, what Obamacare did is it robbed nursing homes and home care services. And we need to go back. We've made those reforms. We are helping Mainers, particularly our elderly, since we're the oldest state in America. And so our needs are much different than some of the younger states. And our children. We need to protect our children because they're the future of Maine. And so these are all very, very important things. And we in Maine know what our needs are better than people here in Washington. And the Vice President and the President both recognize that one size does not fit all, and our needs are all different. And so I'm really in big support of Graham Cassidy, and I really urge the Senator to really take a hard look. Both Senators Collins and King to help Maine people go back to affordable health care and health care that works. And we have already, we're leading the nation in pre-existing conditions. Back in 2011, when we passed Public Law 90, pre-existing conditions were taken care of. It's a state requirement. And therefore, and they did not affect people's premiums because we did it in a very innovative way. It's what we call behind the curtain. People didn't even know it. All we need to know, if you had a pre-existing condition, the state took care of it.
Mr. Vice President, what's your interest in all of the medical groups, the American Medical Association, the American Heart Association, that say this is a bad bill?
The American people know that Obamacare has failed. Truth is, you've seen premiums rise in Maine by 55%, but in many states around the country, we've seen premiums increase since Obamacare became law by 100 and even 200%. The average American family is paying more than $3,000 a year more for health insurance today. And in the state of Maine, 34,000 residents of Maine actually chose to pay the penalty to the IRS instead of paying for insurance that didn't provide adequate coverage for them and for their families.
And in the next cycle, we're looking at 40% increases in premiums to our elderly who are living on fixed incomes. You can say what you want, and all these organizations can say what they want, but they got to sit in my seat and see people go without insurance.
The American people know we can do better. They know that we can have a fresh start in healthcare reform. We can repeal the individual mandate, we can repeal the business mandate, and we can allow states like Maine to return to solutions that were working. The high-risk pool known as Public Law 90 in Maine was working. It was making coverage available and affordable. It was making coverage available for people with pre-existing conditions. Graham Cassidy requires coverage for people with pre-existing conditions. It creates those protections. It creates a more equitable distribution of resources over time to states all around the country on a per-person basis. With all due respect to competing opinions out there, the American people know we can do better than Obamacare. And the example that we saw in Maine before Obamacare gives us great confidence that by empowering states with resources and flexibility, we'll provide better health care and will improve the lives of the people.
And since our reforms in Maine, we've been able to add 40% more revenues to our nursing homes, and we've been able to add 60% more revenues into our home care. So we're keeping people in their homes longer, independent of confined nursing homes. And I'm telling you, people want to live in their homes as long as they possibly can. That's right.
We gotta go. Thanks, everybody. Go ahead. That one right there is fine. Rebecca, thanks. One more from me.
What happens if Maine voters decide to expand Medicaid?
If Maine voters expand Medicaid, what's going to happen is exactly what happened when I came into governorship in 2011. We're going to owe we won't be able to pay our hospitals. We were at $1.3 billion in the red, and it took me 6 years to fix it. And how we fixed it is we brought our liquor business back into the state of Maine because it was leased out by a previous governor, and now we're using that to help pay for the bonds we had to borrow to pay off the last $1 billion, $750 million of unpaid hospital bills. Now, the only option from now on would be to double up on your drinking, and I don't want that for Maine people.
Someone else said that Maine would lose $1 million.
No, Maine's a net gain in this plan. In matter of fact, if you read the Wall Street Journal, Maine benefits. This is why I'm so aggressive on it. Maine actually comes out ahead on this for the first time in decades, that Maine's going to be ahead in the future of healthcare in this country.
And let's be clear on one last point. Whether it be the individual market, on which Maine was a national leader with the high-risk pool in Public Law 90, or whether it be in the ability to innovate and reform Medicaid, as we did when I was governor of the state of Indiana, by block granting resources back to the states. We're inviting 50 different states to create new innovations that will make healthcare more accessible, more affordable, and will improve people's lives. That's the real solution to the failed policies of Obamacare, is empower states like Maine, like my home state of Indiana, and every state in the union, with the resources and the flexibility to craft solutions that will work for the people of their state. And we couldn't be more grateful to Governor LePage for his support, for the support of governors around the country that are beginning to step forward on this measure. More than 15 governors around America, and that list is growing. But Graham Cassidy is an idea whose time has come. President Trump and I are absolutely determined to carry this case all across the country and to call on members of the Senate, most especially Senator Susan Collins from the great state of Maine, to join us in giving the people of Maine and the people of America a fresh start on health care reform that promotes freedom, promotes individual choice, individual markets, and reforms and state-based solutions in healthcare. So thank you, Governor. It's great to have you at the White House.
Pleasure.
Great. Good job.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you all.
All right, guys, if you came on the stream to check out Alex Ovechkin surprising the kids outside the Capital One Arena, oh, you're in luck because our camera just went back up. I was afraid that we lost it. But this is the shot outside of, there it is. Maybe they're going to talk to him. But more than 50 kids are playing hockey, street hockey outside of the arena. And Ovi shows up to support them. He's been known to support this organization, the American Special Hockey Association, which allows adolescents and children with all different sorts of abilities and disabilities to play hockey. And so he came to greet them and play a little along with them. And we still have our camera up here, so we're going to check in.
PR guys right there.
Patrick, are you good? Or do you need to back up more? You good? All right. So Patrick's here. We need all other media behind our photographer.
Yeah, wait 1 second.
Right there. Come on, bud. Peter, are we good?
No, she is. All right, Jen. All right, go get in that photo real quick.
Thanks, NHL.
There we go, Joey. Just smile. Oh, I see.
All right, I think we're ready. Pete, are we ready? All right.
I'll try to bend it out. There we go. Yes.
Aaron.
All right. Scoot over.
All right, guys, there it is, the group photo with Ovi, Alex Ovechkin, pro hockey player with these kids. This is the 4th consecutive season that he has hosted the American Special Hockey Association, ASHA, for a hockey event. So this year, today, September 22nd, will mark the 4th season for him. And it's a really special event for these kids. You can see there's probably more than 30 or 40 kids there that he gets to hang out with. So some cool local sports news, but big sports news for pro hockey fans, of course, as well. Contributing to the community here and giving kids the chance to meet this awesome, revered player, part of our DC sports family here. So this is outside the Capital One Arena, the newly renamed Capital One Arena on, I think this is F Street, right outside, in between the Shakespeare Theater and the arena itself. So anyway, just getting this group picture, and this is from our photojournalist Joe Spivak, who was there and caught some of the street hockey too with the kids before he arrived to surprise them. So now we get a nice little group photo. All right, we'll come back into the newsroom in just a bit.
And well done. Excellent. There you go. Let's go, Cat! I love that. Patrick, tell me when you're good. Good. All right. Hold on, back up. One more. One more. Jump in there. Guys, everybody look this way. Good. All right. Jake, put that one in.
Excuse me.
One more. All right. This is for everybody. One more photo. You rolling? All right, this is how we go. That's a game tonight, right? Everybody. On the count of 3, let's go, Cats. Looking right here, ready? On the count of 3, let's go, Cats. 4, 2, 3. Let's go, Cats! You can be louder than that. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's go, Cats! Much better. I love Ovechkin. Thanks for that, guys.
Oh my God. That was good.
better than when we did it on the ice, I think.
That's exactly what I did. Better contact, absolutely.
I feel like he was more into it this time.
They do this every 100 years.
Parents, come on over.
Mic check.
Peter. Yes. Jimmy. Hey, can I keep it here? No, you can keep it right here. This is perfect. Excuse me, yes.
Thank you so much. This is media.
I keep running into Mic check. What are we doing? How do we take like a foot back? Why are we doing this?
Hey, don't push. Buddy, guys, don't push.
Let this man talk. Get that one, it's like on the ice. So, but again,
It seems like these kids connect with you. They recognize your face and say you, and obviously you know pretty well.
yeah, of course, they know me, I know them, and it's been 4 years, so I hope it's going to come more.
In the past, they kind of knew that you were coming out there. This time it was a surprise. Was that your idea? Was that fun?
It was our idea with the capture organization. Again, we're here to make kids enjoy time and enjoy the day.
Alex, how does it feel to be able to give back like this, man?
How I said, they play hard. They lower me. A couple of guys try to hit me, so I have fun as well.
What about the kids looking up to you and seeing that? Oh my God!
Yeah, how I said, they know me. I know them. Obviously, it's been 4 years, so I'm enjoying doing that kind of stuff.
What do you think of the portrait?
Be honest, I saw like kids grab photos and stuff like that, so I don't have a chance.
What about this charity specifically that you connect with, that this is the one that you've spent a lifetime with?
Yeah, it's again, I think, how I said all the time, if you have a chance to help someone, especially kids, you have to, obviously. We have that opportunity, we get lucky, and they're not, so we try to give them a smile on the face, moment in their life, and they still remember what we did a couple of years ago, so that's a good idea. It's
Alex,
a good time.
Alex, can you talk about why it's important to give back? Why is it important to give back?
Again, we're all here to share the smiles, share the happiness, and every time Anna goes to the game or the boys goes to the game, they're excited and they always remember that. All right?
All right.
See you tonight. Thank you. Huh? I hate print media. I hate sports interviews. I don't know why everyone feels like they need to be like right on top of it. In general.
They just want to be close.
It's just like insane.
Can we get a photo?
Guys, American Hockey Association presence right here. If you have any questions, right?
Okay.
About the.
You're right.
Thank you guys so much. Hi there, how are you?
All right, so very special coverage there of Alex Ovechkin surprising these kids who are part of the American Special Hockey Association. He's been with this group for a long time now. This is the 4th consecutive season that he's hosted an event with them. So you can see the camera is now down, so we'll come back in, guys, and finish out there. Pretty interesting stuff. Also in sports news, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but a couple of things, really. Jay-Z, of course, singer Jay-Z turning down the Super Bowl in support of Colin Kaepernick, so I'm sure more to come out on that story there, but he's reportedly turned down an offer to be the main event at the Super Bowl this year in Minneapolis. That's US Bank Stadium. That's pretty interesting. I'm sure there's going to be more follow on that and reasons coming out as to if that's connected and why and whatnot there. And then, of course, the late NFL player Aaron Hernandez, former Patriot, also convicted killer, diagnosed with a severe case of CTE. That's that brain injury, but you can only be diagnosed after an autopsy is done on the brain after death. So pretty interesting and also very sad stuff. This comes months after his suicide. So that breaking this morning, that was pretty shocking, I think, to hear. But we've been talking about CTE a lot in the news lately, and how that can affect people, of course, mentally, and also even create feelings, a suicidal feeling and thoughts. So it's been really interesting to read more up on that. So some interesting sports news today, but of course ending the stream today with some uplifting sports news where our very own Ovi visits these kids outside of Capital One Arena. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for joining us here today. More coverage, of course, on our digital platforms and on air tonight. Brody Logan will have more on that story with Alex Ovechkin and some more in sports, of course. And then if you missed the big sort of hit at the beginning of this stream with Mike Thomas on weather, it is the first day of fall, but also tracking Maria as it makes its way up, the Hurricane Maria, as she makes her way up the East Coast. Mike Thomas had a lot more on that towards the beginning of the stream. And I know there was a little bit of audio issue, but we do have that on our Facebook page as well. So you can join us on Fox 5 DC's Facebook page for that. All right, guys, that's going to do it. We hope that you have an awesome, awesome weekend. Once again, first day of fall. We're super excited about it. It doesn't feel like fall here, but it's going to be warm all weekend. But it does begin today at 4:02, so that's just in a couple hours. Hope you spend it well and enjoy it, guys. We'll be back on Monday with more live news at 11:30, and we'll see you then. Thanks for joining.